Hey, what's up, guys? Check it out. So, why you're not a software engineer, like, and you can't become one? If you've been trying to become a software engineer and it's not working, it's probably not because you're not smart enough. It's because you're doing it just completely wrong, right? And most advice online is actually kind of just making it worse. I've seen the same mistake over and over again from people I've mentored in the past, and new developers is people spend months, even years, and they just never get hired. And you're probably in the same boat. Um, Not because they can't do it, but because they kind of focus on the wrong things. So here's some real reasons you're still not a software engineer, and you probably won't become one if you continue to follow the same path. um, you're consuming, you're not building, right? That's reason number one. So you're watching tutorials and taking notes, feeling productive, right? You're watching all these shorts from these guys that are just smarter than you, right? Like these guys are just the best, you know, hundreds of thousands of views, right? You're just consuming this content over and over and over, right? Um, but you're not actually building anything, right? You're just not building anything. Watching code videos is easy. Building stuff is hard. That's why people stay stuck. That's why you're not a software engineer. That's why you're not getting hired, right? You don't become a developer by watching developers, right? I didn't become a developer from watching people how to code, right? That's kind of where I got stuck. You become a developer from struggling through your own code, right? Building stuff. So reason two, you're not trying to learn, or you're trying to learn everything and you're not focusing. So you're learning like front end, back end, AI, cloud, infrastructure, um, databases. You're doing too much. Okay. You don't need more information. You need to focus on what information you're taking in, right? So like you just need to focus on back end, Python, right? Like you just need to focus on this. Like just focus on learning, um, you know, stuff like this. Take it in one time, then go build. One time, just watch it one time. You need to pick that one singular path, right? So if you're taking Python, you can learn Django, right? The framework, and learn how this is, right? Take it in and then go do your research and start an application using Django and Python. Um, and stick to it longer than what feels comfortable, right? So like you may learn Django, you may build out an application, but it's just gonna be crap. Like just make it good. Focus on that application for months, even years if you have to. Really, depth beats randomness every time. Basically, is kind of what I'm trying to say. So, reason three is you avoid struggle. So the second you get stuck, you go back to tutorials, right? Like if you're building out this Django app and you get stuck on something, a problem, you're back to how to code websites in React, right? And you're just gonna watch these React videos and stick with it and copy and paste what they're doing, right? That's the worst thing you can do. The moment of being stuck, that's where growth happens, right? It's kind of like when you're pushing weights and you're hurting, that's when it matters. That's when the muscle starts growing, right? So if you're not struggling, you're not improving. You're just not. So getting unstuck is literally the job, right? Being unstuck, getting a problem that's stuck into an unstuck phase is literally being a software engineer, right? Reason four, your projects are too basic, right? You built a to-do app, maybe a weather app, but everyone has, right? So if I just starting coding project, right? Like, it's kind of like a, but like people follow these tutorials, right? And like everybody has these basically the same type of things, right? Um, I don't know. So you just everybody has that, but that doesn't make you stand out, right? It's gonna make you more invisible. Um, Employers have seen those types of applications 1,000 times, basically, is kind of what I'm saying. People that are interviewing you have seen it 1,000 times if they ask for those things, right? Um, you need projects that feel slightly uncomfortable to build, basically. So something where you don't already know the answers, right? It's kind of like, for example, 100 people show up and everybody's wearing shoes, right? Like that's the best metaphor. Everybody's wearing shoes, right? But if you show up and you got some fancy pair of shoes on that makes you stand out a little bit, but everybody's wearing shoes. So everybody's got the weather application, the to do application. Reason five, you're not thinking like an employer, right? Employers don't care how many tutorials you've watched. They don't care about how many courses you completed, right? They care about one thing. Can you solve problems? Can you solve their problems? That is being a software engineer. Is can you fix their problems? Can you make the things that they want? Can you make their legacy code better? Can you implement AI in their code legacy code base? Those type of things, right? Your project should make that obvious immediately, right? If they can't tell what you can do in 10 seconds, you basically lose. So you kind of need to figure out what jobs you're applying to and if your project can solve those problems. Reason six, you're applying wrong, right? If you're if you're mass applying to hundreds of jobs, just stop doing that. I will say this to this day. Just stop doing that, right? That's what everyone else is doing, right? You're just another resume in that giant pile of resumes. Instead, apply for fewer jobs, but actually try. Like you have to put these efforts into these. Tailor your resume. Reach out to people. Like, reach out to them. Like networking's not my favorite thing, but just cold approach these people, right? Not everybody's doing that. One real connection beats 100 applications, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Reason seven, you quit too early, right? You just quit too early. This is the one that nobody wants to hear, right? Even I did it. Most people quit right before it starts working, right? It's kind of the adage of what people say because progress in coding feels slow until it suddenly isn't. All of a sudden, the people who make it are usually just the ones who didn't stop. So building out these applications, constantly applying to those tailored your tailored resume to those applications and those things, that really you're putting those efforts in, right? When I hear people, oh, I applied for 500 jobs in a day, it's like, yeah, cool, but how many did you get a call back on, right? Like, and those callbacks, did you go back and kind of figure out which ones that are hitting you back up, which ones are doing it? You're quitting too early on yourself, right? Definitely when it comes to coding, it's one of those skill sets that just compounds and compounds over time. Um, so basically, if you want to fix even one of these things, one of these reasons I gave you, you're already ahead of most people trying to get into tech, right? This isn't about being the smartest person in the room. In fact, I always feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room, and I feel like that's the best place to be, right? It's about doing the right things consistently. So, um, basically, go and build applications. That's the best thing you can do. Whatever technology you want to do, it doesn't matter. No one can tell you the right way to do things. No one can tell you the tech stack that's best. MERN, .NET, Java, Spring, anything. It doesn't matter. Just pick one and sit down, right? Um, if you want a job, go look at those charts that they say, Python's probably going to be number one in AI and how those interact and all that stuff. But just focus on Python. Focus on a framework that works with Python. Then start integrating parts to that, right? You can't learn all of this at one time. You have to focus on one thing. That's really going to set you apart. So, if you're serious about becoming a software engineer, stop doing what feels productive and start doing what actually works, right? Failing and trying to get unstuck from that failing. That is the biggest thing, right? If you want, I'll break down exactly what projects you should build next or those type of things. So just let me know.